welcome to Boxerworks Shop Culture, newest episode.
Is that kind of like a yogurt, kind of a culture?
Yeah,
mix it up.
We're all very cultured. I like a yogurt, so
Gotcha.
Living at least
I gotcha.
Within a soup of motorcycles. I'm Chris, owner of Boxerworks. This is Nathan, longtime owner of Boxerworks, and
Obviously, we both can't be owners. He's the owner.
Yes, and he's just working. That's what Nathan does. He just works. And what we work on are vintage motorcycles, mostly BMWs. Airheads is Nathan's specialty, although we do all kinds of vintage bikes and BMWs in general. So welcome to the podcast, or videocast, or vcast, whatever we call it. And we're gonna talk about basics today, like basics.
Yeah, synchronizing your carburetors, adjusting your carburetors. Going to show you how simple it is to do.
Yeah. And what other basics do you think people can start with when they want to start working on their own bikes? Besides adjusting carburetors, because that's super easy. What else is
making sure there's gas in the tank and oil in it and air in the tires, because half the bikes that come in don't have any of those things.
Right.
It's air in the tires. They never come in with air in the tires. They're always wrong. So, I mean, carburetors are pretty basic stuff. If we're going to get into, we did a thing on points a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
We can do valve adjustment, but that's been done a lot of times. Fluids have been done. So this is probably the one thing that people are the most have the most trouble with. It's carburetors.
It's carburetors.
And it's the simplest thing on the bike. If your carburetors are in workable condition, that's a whole nother story.
Right.
So,
right.
But we're going to show you that it's pretty straightforward to do.
Yeah, we'll do that in a second. We'll talk a little bit more about the carburetors in a second as well. I have some questions for Nathan, but first how many people have come through the shop that you've taught the basics to?
I don't think I've taught it to anybody. They come in and I go out and their bike sounds like shit and it's way out of sync and they go, is something wrong? And I spend a couple of minutes and adjust it and tell them to go away.
I know of two mechanics that you've just basically drug off the street and taught how to be pretty excellent airhead mechanics, right? Is there more than that? Because we have Mikey, who has his own shop now.
Who just got married last week. Congratulations, Mikey.
Congratulations.
Saturday was his big day.
Yep. You all know him from the previous podcast he did with Nathan, which was called
Cross the Lift.
And
he's Gold Stroke Motors, has been for a while.
Yep. You can find
Hi, Mikey.
On YouTube. And also Garrett.
Yeah. Both of them started off as our parts guys.
Right.
Both of them were parts guys for several years until they understood what each thing did, and then they wanted to be mechanics, and then we gave them some stuff to read, and the rest, as they say, is history.
What'd you recommend for reading?
There's all kinds of basic books. We'd give them to you, but we know it wouldn't help.
I do actually have them. I haven't read them yet.
Good, because if you did, you'd be in a real world of trouble.
I have read some of them, actually.
It's all basic motor charging system, ignition system. It's nothing magic. Actually, one of the books that I had was from high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, a book that I had from high school. But the rest of them are magazines or little pamphlets that Clymer makes or Haynes makes, and they're pretty explanatory. They'll pretty much tell you everything you need to know, and then you can start applying it.
Yeah, there's the basics of motorcycle maintenance book that I have. We'll put the links of all of these books. I'll go through Nathan and pick his brain later about which books you could start looking at. But we'll put the links in the show notes below. So what was your experience training up Mikey and Garrett?
What was my experience? I think Mikey and Garrett watched things going on in general, and they still do that in general. They got a pretty good idea what's going on, because over the years, while they worked on stuff, we've gone over the stuff. When something's not been quite right, go back and sit down and talk them through it or show it to them, and they're both pretty quick learners.
Yeah.
Because they're smart guys and because they want to learn, and and again, a lot of people show up for carb adjustment because it seems to be magic to them, but it's pretty straightforward.
Right. So with the carb adjustment, you're gonna tell people to listen for the carbs being synced. What exactly are they listening for?
Well, if you have, and unless you have a constant depression gauge or a unison or something like that, that'll show you, pulling air or whatever. if you start your motorcycle and one side starts before the other, or you turn the throttle and the bike's kind of jumping from side to side, or you can hear one pick up and then the other pick up, it's sort of common sense to keep adjusting the cables until they both sound like they're coming up the same. You start to hear one sound instead of different sounds. Now your mufflers are pretty loud, and so
Yeah.
that makes it more difficult to listen. But you know you can hear it. You can still hear it if you're close enough to the cylinders.
Right.
So I think it's. I mean, most of us learned just because we knew something was wrong, and we just fiddled around until we finally figured out what we had to do to make them both come up at the same time. So, and we'll talk about that.
And you're listening for noise in the cylinders, not in the
Oh,
carburetors
you're just
itself,
listening.
right?
No, you're just listening to the two cylinders work together. You're not listening for any noise in the cylinder.
Got
You're
it.
listening to the sound of the bike
Harmonizing with itself.
Well, I guess that's true.
I'm poetic. You should be more poet. You want me to teach you poetry? Teach me motorcycle mechanics. I can teach you how to be poetic.
It's okay. I'll pass on that one.
So they're going to be listening for that. And what else do you think is important going through this?
Going through the carburetors?
Yeah.
Well, you know, one of the biggest problems I see is that if you try to adjust your carburetors when it's not at idle, not only is the bike more difficult to start because with the idle screw making the slides already lifted up some, or making the butterfly already open, so too much air is going there, makes it harder to start. But besides that, you can't set the idle very well if it's already off of idle. 1500 RPM, it's off of idle, it's on the mid-range. So if your bike is idling above 12 or 1300 RPM, you can turn the screws all you want. The screw here, well, we'll show it later. The screw that's on the arm that works the butterfly is already off of it. So nothing you turn is going to change anything. So you have to have the thing idling as low as you can. You let it warm up some, and you get it. If it's idling too high, you just can turn the screws down until you get it to where it's idling low enough that you can adjust the idle.
Right.
Otherwise, you'll never get it right. And we see that a lot. We see I can't get it to idle low. It's because it's not at idle when you're starting, and therefore you can't set the synchronization on them.
What causes carbs can go out of sync over time, right?
Well, cable stretch. I mean, you know, they wear. Cable stretch, and nuts might get loose, and I mean, just wear in general makes them go out. Certainly, if anything internal in the carburetor is not working properly, then they may not come off of idle right. But most of the time, it's just the cables aren't synced. They've stretched, or they're getting frayed. Or there's a bind in it somewhere and it's not one's not returning all the way, or your throttle sticking, or your throttle gear's not been lubed right, so it's not really working smoothly and it's not returning to idle.
Right.
But again, most of the time it's a cable issue.
Right. How does somebody know that they're, other than the sound? How does somebody
Well,
know
I mean,
that
if
their
your
carbs are out of sync?
if your carburetor's on sync, your bike's not going to run very well. I mean, to begin with, until when you turn the throttle and one's coming off past the other, the bike isn't going to be very smooth. Now, once you get past a certain point, say at 3,000 or 4,000 RPM, and the slides are all pretty much wide open, it's going to be a little bit better. But coming off of idle, trying to get it to idle properly, not having the bike shake, not having it backfire or anything like that's a result of one working before the other. You know, it's just like, how do you know if your timing's out or your points are, the bike doesn't run right. It's hard to start, doesn't accelerate properly, doesn't idle properly, doesn't sound right and smooth, common sense stuff.
Okay, cool. Well, we're going to show you how to adjust the carburetors and sync them up on this lovely R65 LS. And we're going to get to it. If you have any poetry you would like to send to Nathan, he loves poetry. He will read it all day.
I'll give it to my cat.
His cat loves poetry.
Right. She can sleep on it. I can sleep on it.
Hands you tools and reads you poetry.
Well, yeah,
Best cat.
the tool part's a little difficult, but they hand me mice and chipmunks pretty regularly.
That's all you can
Occasional
ask for.
snake. Yeah, that's all you can ask for.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
Here we are, Chris and Nathan, going to give you the down and dirty on adjusting your carburetors. This is a 32 millimeter Bing, 1981 and later. This is a 40 millimeter, both basically the same carburetor. We need two tools. 10 millimeter wrench, and a screwdriver. Whether you rebuilt your carburetor or not, we want to start at a basic point. So this is the idle adjustment screw. Normally what I would do is back it off until it isn't touching this arm anymore. You can watch it. There'll be a space here. You back it off. When I build carburetors, I back it off usually 4 turns, so I know that it's at 0 when I go to adjust this butterfly. But you had it running on your bike, and if you paid attention, you probably still have it, or you put it back to where it was when you took it off the bike. If not, you back it off until it just about touches, and then you turn 4 turns. That opens this up just a hair. And the other adjustment on here, 2 other adjustments. One's the air fuel mixture screw. That's this one right here. Normally you carefully tighten it till it just snugs. It's got a point on the end. Then you back it out 2 flats. That'll get you started. The last thing we're going to do is the free play in the cable. We want to make sure your throttle is in the off position. And so you have this mounted. You come to the side. I always start away from that side because that's the side I'm usually standing on when I run it. I adjust this so I have just a little bit of free play. Say 10 or 15 thousandths, just enough that I know that this is seated, and that if I have to drop the adjustment down for idle because the 4 turns was too much, I have a little bit of room to do it. And so if I put a slight amount on this side and I go to that side, I break the lock nut loose. I turn this until I get just a little bit of free play in here. I do the same thing on the other side. Usually I'll come back and lock this one down because I'm going to work towards that side, but you don't have to. And then I start the bike. I need to get it warm, or at least warm enough that it'll idle some. Normally it won't idle until it's run for 3 or 4 minutes. So you have to get the bike warm. Then you can adjust your idle slightly. You don't want to mess with the air fuel mixture screw at this point. It really needs to be done once it's hot, once you've got it up to operating temperature. And then you're just going to turn this handle and listen to the carburetors. There's a certain point here, unless you put a tool on it, you're going to have to listen. And you want to basically hear what sounds like one carburetor moving. That's going to tell you that both of these are coming off at the same time. So basically we're going to have the carburetors adjusted 90% done before we even start the bike. The actual adjustment is mechanical. It's just a cable. So you get this cable with a little free play, you put some free play on the other side, you start the bike. You want to start the bike? Okay, so we're going to start the motorcycle. And we probably just ran out of gas. You lock down the nut on this side and then go out and ride your bike, get it good and hot, come back in and adjust the idle, and then you can adjust the air fuel mixture screw. When you adjust the air fuel mixture screw, you're looking for highest smooth idle. So you're going to turn it in and listen real carefully till it starts to slow down or speed up, then bring it back out till it slows down or speeds up, then continue to back it up and find that spot going in and out that it sounds the smoothest and it's idling the fastest. You're going to do that on both sides. Then you're going to probably have to come back and readjust the idle screw, because you may have changed the idle when you changed the air fuel mixture screw. Basically, that's it. Again, majority of what you do before you start the bike. The bike, the adjustment is a mechanical issue. It's got nothing to do with anything inside the carburetor, as long as, of course, the carburetor is put together properly. Okay, so I think we showed you best we could that this is not a difficult task. Certainly,
Even I could do it.
I want to go that far. Certainly, if you have any questions, you can call us, 706-310-0699. You can email us. You can go to boxworks.org and contact us through the customer portal. We're happy to help. The more you know, the more we can help you, and the more money we can make from you. So,
which is why
we're here.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So we can support our cats and
also,
our habits,
and also support the Airhead community, the BMW community, the vintage motorcycle community. We're here to do that too, not just make money off of you. Although
they go hand in hand.
Money is a nice
It's
aside
a necessary thing, unfortunately.
Keep the lights on.
Right.
We're gonna put a lot of stuff down in the show notes below, so check all that out. Stuff you might need, and the tools that Nathan showed you. We'll also make sure that you have specs on those. And I don't know what else. What else we got? Anything? All right.
Is that it?
Yeah, I'm Chris. This is Nathan.
Hasta la vista.
Yeah, this has been Shop Culture.